How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to the house in Fata Morgana. Okay, so last episode we found some interesting stuff. we shut the door on the Jacopo storyline, and then we explored the mansion a little freely. I got to go to a bunch of different rooms. I even got a key to go into the master bedroom. I got an interesting scene there. It seemed to be maybe a memory of the original home, or maybe a clue as to who we are. But it's also kind of... It's playing up the fact that we're now at the last door, at the top of the tower, above the angel stained glass window. I'm not entirely sure I believe it, but it's worth consideration. I hope you don't think it was unnatural. I literally stumbled by accident onto some little secrets because there's a backlog, and if you go to the backlog, we get these messages. I literally had clicked too far, and I went to the backlog to see, and I noticed text in red that wasn't what was in the backlog originally, and I was like, well, it's this. That's interesting. I wonder if it's actually still here. It doesn't look like it. It was in here, in bright red. Oh, there it is. And then I went to this section and I double checked after I'd finished the recording to see if there was, I wanted to read it again, and then this one popped up, and so I added a little amendment to the end of that episode. Yeah, let's go over it again because it's really, I think it's going to be really important. We got an impression from the dark mirror that kind of implied that he kind of understood what was going on and that he wanted this to all resolve. And he said that I would have to make some kind of choice. And then here it says you can try and remember the past. Like, he talks about like trying to remember he mentioned remembering the past is dangerous, but it might be the key of what's necessary. Maybe. I don't know. It was very odd to know exactly what he was saying. And then we get these red text that says, you can try to remember the past, but it's an absolute utter waste of time. Erase everything, all your sorrows, wipe them away for a fistful of happiness. Allow me to show you that you have no need of the past. My lifeblood was your sustenance, your prosperity. Upon my blood did you build your lives. A sin so great it shall never be forgiven, and my blood were your lives extinguished. And by my blood your lives were extinguished. This is the power granted to me by God. By my blood shall become a curse, blotting out the stars. I am the witch Morgana. Now let us begin a tale, the beautiful finale to this world. And that's where we are now. So, if I have to make a choice, it looks like the choice is going to be to accept whatever horrors await me and what my life really was. Probably destroying any hope for my own happiness, but potentially leading us into the direction of the truth, and maybe we can find a resolution to this curse. Or, I follow the words of the red letters. Cling to the happiness I have, ignorance is bliss, move forward, and just accept things as they are. At least that's how I think the choice is supposed to be. I'm not 100% sure on that, so I'm nervous. I'm not sure what the choice is going to be, when it's going to be presented, and how I'm going to make it. But I think I'll just have to wait until we get there. And I have a feeling it's going to be a couple episodes. Each of these doors usually was about 3 or 4 episodes long, so about 3 or 4 hours worth of content. And I'm guessing that the choice will be closer to the end than the beginning, so I think we have time to think. Or at least I do. Now, I'm going to be annoyingly, I'm sure, checking the backlog fairly routinely because I want to see if I can catch more of these texts. Like I said, I hope it really was organic that I found it. Like, I feel like based on what some people saying, like wow, you discovered that so quickly. I don't want you to think it was genuinely an accident. I was so lucky that I happened to skip right around the time when that text would pop up. I don't know what that says about me. To be fair, I've done that multiple times in the past. It's not like I just don't do that, or that my hand doesn't randomly click when I don't mean to. It happens. So, whatever. Let's move on with the story. It's about time. I need to stop rambling. Master, please wake up. Return to me. Have you come to, Master? I apologize for sending you through the door without warning. It must have given you quite the scare. But I beg your forgiveness. Oh, that's right. So we got the initial beginnings. We had the white-haired girl being chased, being called a witch, running to the mansion, meeting Michel. I was saying it Miguel, but someone from France who speaks French said that I wasn't pronouncing it right. I'm going to try and... I think it was not Mitchell, but Michel. but like it's still a masculine name. It just sounds a lot more like Michelle, like what I would consider a female name. I think that's how we're saying it. Anyway, I'll do my best. Anyway, so we saw that memory of her saying like, look, I'd rather live here where like you say there's a curse than go out there where I know I'll be killed. And then she admitted to him that she was considered a witch. Anyway, but I beg your forgiveness. I heard a terrible scream from down the stairs and I panicked. You say you saw the white-haired girl? I see. So you made it into the world beyond the door before me. I am deeply relieved that I was able to take your hand before losing sight of you. I presume you have already grown familiar with the atmosphere of this time period, Master? If you have seen her, as you said, then you should have a basic grasp of the situation. She was a very misfortunate girl in this era, accused of being a witch, abused and persecuted. I think this time period just said it was like in like the 1014 or something, like way early. Like I think it might be even earlier than the first story with the sandy-haired people, you know, Nellie and Mel. Her life was in constant danger. It was again her appearance that brought this upon her. That snow-white hair and those ruby-red eyes clearly differentiated her from everyone else. Oh, and I apologize. I neglected to mention that the door is unique. As for what sets it apart, that will be made clear as we proceed, though one difference is in the time period. The tales I've shown you begin with that beautiful flaxen-haired family, followed by the tale of the bloodthirsty beast, and then the tale of the steel and ambition, proceeding in chronological order. However, the door we have just entered takes us to the period now known as the Middle Ages, long, long before the other three tales. Yes, that is correct. This is where it all began. The mansion's curse, the truth of the witch, and your identity. All of this should be made known. If, after this tale, you are still unable to reclaim your old self, then there is nothing more I can do. The door contains the last tale I am able to tell you, so I ask of you, please do not let go of my hand until it is all over. Now then, let us begin a beautiful, tragic love story of two solitary souls trapped in a mansion of darkness. In that era, the mansion was a dungeon draped in darkness. Sounds like the beginning of a book. After a great deal of time on the run, the white-haired girl found herself at a remote mansion that stood in dark, overgrown forest. Alright, quick. One quick. Oh, yep. Go back. I thought so. Alright. So, like, we had that, and sorry, pretty much every transition of any kind, I'm gonna check. Anyway, you have been trapped in perpetual darkness, found light in the same house where I withered away. The light was bestowed upon you by a certain woman, was it not? Leave everything to me, my dear. I promise I shall make this into a most beautiful tale. Yes, I am giving you special treatment. A rare act of kindness from me, of warmth. You do not wish her to know the truth. I can make better use of her like this. So it is to both our benefits, to rewrite the woman you loved. What the fetch? Okay, so right, that's fascinating. Anyway, so the lines I kind of scrolled past is like, after a great deal of time on the run, the white-haired girl found herself in a remote mansion stood in dark overgrown forest. All of the windows were either boarded or shuttered. It was even darker out inside the house than out. Not even a ray of moonlight could enter those walls. Only naturally, the white-haired girl had assumed that nobody lived there. But her guess was incorrect. Someone did, indeed, dwell in the house. It was a young man named Michel. I don't know. I can't say that. Fetch, man. It's like Michel and Michael. Michel. I can't. It's Michel. Okay, it's French, so Michel. Okay, it was a young man named Michel. Though she could not make out the details of his face in the candlelight, she thought him a very handsome man. However, he proclaimed to her that a witch resided within the mansion, and that he too was cursed. Everyone who got close to him lost their lives. Do you think that what he told her was all nonsense? A lie devised to chase her out of the house? I don't know, man. At this point, I don't think so. The truth of the matter shall come to light in time. Despite Michel's assertions, the white-haired girl decided that she would take up residence within the mansion. This era's white-haired girl was younger than the others. She was still in her early teens, young enough to be seen as still a child. But she was neither as self-centered nor irresponsible as you might expect of someone her age. She was very delicate and reserved, and acted with a great deal of modesty and restraint. The accusations of her being a criminal and a sinner were grossly inappropriate. Nevertheless, she was still chased from her home, barely managing to flee through the mansion with her life. Now the white-haired girl thought it would be rude to simply take up space in the mansion, so she chased down the master, Michel, and asked, is there anything I can do to help? I will clean or cook or anything, just let me know. I want to repay you for allowing me to stay here. You need not feel indebted to me. The weight of that obligation will only turn you into disdain. But I can't just stay here and do nothing. Do whatever you like, as long as you do not enter my room. That is all I ask of you. He said emotionlessly, turning away and walking off. Michel was not, I believe, spurning her. He was merely disinterested. He did not treat her disrespectfully, nor did he seem averse to her presence. Words simply did not seem to affect him at all. Not only was the mansion a prison for his body was also a prison ensnaring his heart. I should still do whatever I can. But she did not let that get her down. In fact, she may have even interpreted his disinterest as kindness. Though he was a bit standoffish, he did not attempt to cause her harm. He was nothing like the people who had accused her of being a witch and forcing her to flee for her life, and she was deeply grateful for that. The whispering in my ears is freaking me out. Thus began their quiet life together. Michel, who avoided contact with others, and the white-haired girl, who had taken a great deal of abuse from others. Two people who knew hardly anything about one another, who were too distant to really be said to be living together. Michel spent most of his days in his chambers, so they only ever saw each other occasionally, and they hardly ever spoke. Though they stayed in the same house, they both lived solitary lives. Nonetheless, the white-haired girl wanted to get to know Michel better. She wanted to know why he called himself cursed, why he lived alone in the dark mansion. How many days, how many years had he spent here in solitude? And while she waited for the opportunity, she also started doing things around the house. So I wonder when the maid's gonna show up, if she will at all. The first project she set out to take care of was cleaning. As the windows were all firmly shut, her only source of light was candles. For whatever reason, there was a great deal of candles stored in the cellar. She wondered where on earth he had acquired so many, but she never found the opportunity to ask him. It was difficult to even see all the dust and cobwebs with only candlelight, and considering the poor airflow through the house, she was afraid her efforts were going to be in vain. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Microphone. Still, she persisted, sweeping and wiping things down, one room at a time. Eventually, she made her way to the library. The dust that settled there was much heavier than another room. With each breath, she had to fight back coughs. It was not a room one would normally be comfortable spending much time in, but the sight of so many bulky volumes lining the shelves sent her heart aflutter with delight. This almost feels like the Beauty and the Beast story in a way. They're books. Incredible, real books. The white-haired girl had never seen a book before. She had heard people describe them, but that was the first time she'd ever seen one for herself. Yeah, this is taking place in the Middle Ages. Like, each book would have to be made handcrafted. Every letter written out by hand for every page. And the covers and the bindings had to be crafted, each meticulously. Like, it's hard to imagine a life without the printing press. easy access to books. You know how spoiled we are that we have libraries, and if you're not, at least if you're in the United States, I'm presuming in many other countries that the libraries are free. Like, sure, tax dollars technically pay for it, but like, you can just walk in and get a book and leave. So nothing, and even late fees are pretty forgiving. It's like, we're spoiled. We're so spoiled. Parchment was a very valuable commodity in that era. It was something monks or scholarly priests made use of, not a material one could easily acquire without degree of social rank. Books were not printed with machines but copied by hand. A single volume took an incredible amount of work to create. Why do I even talk? Why do I even talk? It's gonna say everything I think right after I say it. Even the process of binding was an art. Standing before a shelf, she stared intently at the spines. There's so much dust. Does he not read any of them? Just a peek, just a tiny peek, she said, making excuses to an empty room as she reached her hand toward one of the books. The tome that caught her eye was on the upper shelf. It bore gorgeous jade embossing and looked like it belonged in a treasure chest. Almost. Though she tried to act older than her age, the white-haired girl was still in her early teens and not especially tall. Even standing on tiptoe, it was just barely within reach. At long last, her slender fingers made contact with the spine, and she began to pull the book toward her. The library had sat abandoned for some time, causing the covers to stick together. Ooh, that's not good. So when she attempted to pull out one out, several others tilted with it. And then, almost all the books on the shelf came avalanching down onto her. Ow! That'd be heavy. Ow! The white-haired girl groaned under a mountain of parchment. She hoped she had not damaged any of her host's valuable collection, but the mess was enough as a setback already in her attempt to express her gratitude. Looking around, she saw one volume was almost torn in half. Oh, fetch! She did not know whether it was in that condition before or if it had happened in the fall, but nonetheless she felt horribly guilty. Sitting there, unable to get back to her feet, tears began welling in her eyes. Oh, poor girl. Then, suddenly, a shadow fell over the dejected girl. It took a book in its hands and returned it to the shelf. For a brief moment, the shadow's hand reached hesitantly toward the white-haired girl, then changed its course toward another book. It was Michel. There was a hint of perplexity in his otherwise emotionless eyes. Perhaps he had heard the noise and come to see what had caused it. I'm sorry. Your books, What were you doing? I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to make a mess. I didn't mean to damage such precious books. There's no need to panic. I'm sorry. You make it sound as though I was admonishing you. What? Did you want to read a book? I do, but that's not what I originally came here to clean. Clean? Yes, I feel guilty simply being idle. I did say you could do as you pleased, but you have no responsibility to clean anything. I just ended up making a bigger mess anyway. I'm sorry. You needn't apologize. Okay. If you want to read, help yourself to any of these books. But I don't know how to read. I just thought the cover was pretty, so I wanted to hold it. You're free to use them however you wish. If looking at them is enough for you, by all means. These are all your books, aren't they? They are. That's incredible. You have so many. It must have taken you a long time to acquire them all. One per month. What? My family sends me one every month. Every month? The white-haired girl turned her gaze back toward the shelves, squinting her eyes and beginning to count. Interesting. When she finished, she was in awe. There were in excess of 100 books on the shelves, which meant he'd lived there in solitude for many years. Alright, so even if we take a simple 100, And divide that by 12. I mean, that's it's like 8 years probably, something along there. She was at a loss for words. They're dull tomes, dreadfully inoffensive, not even interesting enough to waste a few hours with. Decoration is all they're good for. I see. If you can put them to some use, then perhaps me having them won't be entirely meaningless anymore. I am going to return to my room. Don't feel obligated to clean up. Just a minute? Was there something else? Could you tell me your name? I just realized I never asked you for your name. Not knowing what to call you will make the conversation awkward. You don't need my name to. I want to, though. Michel. Michel. Like the Archangel. Alright, so like, it's the French word, but it is effectively Michael. The name suits you quite well. It suits me? It does. Although it's difficult to see you in the dark, you seem to be a very handsome man, befitting your name. I beg to differ. Given my name is the highest form of mockery, I expect the real Archangel is probably rather annoyed by it. I don't know. I think it's a wonderful name. And your... No, never mind. Dang it! I was hoping we'd get an actual name. Oh, my name? I mean, it's gonna be the stupid X's again. My name is... Whoa! Fetch! Giselle. Interesting. Please call me Giselle. Oh, maybe it's a fake name. Oh, thank goodness. For what? That I was able to get your name and talk to you for a little bit. We haven't seen much of each other since I first arrived, and I'm so glad I got to hear your voice. So very glad. Sheesh, you crushing much? You gain nothing by speaking to me. You have no responsibility to do so, and there's no need for you to feel joy about it. Wow, he's like the brood master. Jeez. I'm not pleased out of some sense of responsibility or necessity. It's just depressing not being able to have conversation with someone living in the same house. You do not understand me at all. As I said on the first day, my curse will one day kill you. But I'm still alive, aren't I? You are welcome to believe I am lying or that I'm merely out of my mind. But it will be too late when you realize the truth. I'll be fine, I'm sure. And even if I do die because of your curse, I promise I won't hold a grudge. Could you possibly be keeping away from me out of concern? No, I simply have no interest in interacting with anyone. I would like to interact with you. If you don't mind, that is. As I told you, you have nothing to gain from that. I have nothing, not even words to give you. My body is but a shell, even if I were not cursed. My presence would do naught but cause you discomfort. I do not think that's true. I don't believe that there's anyone in this world with absolutely nothing. There's plenty inside you. You simply haven't noticed it yet. And not all of it will only cause others pain either. If you truly believe those words, then you are a foolhardy girl. How can you trust someone you only just met? For that matter, how do you not resent everyone? Resent them? I can take a guess as to why people call you a witch, and why you have to flee all the way to this mansion. Your white hair and red eyes. That abnormal, seemingly inhuman appearance drew their condemnation. And I can think of any number of reasons they might have started treating you less than human. Perhaps people around you experienced misfortune, or perhaps there was a natural disaster, a famine, or a plague. Some kind of external phenomena. And you were their scapegoat. Yes, you are, by and large, correct. Then that would make me as unworthy of your trust as anyone else. I make no claim to having your interests in mind. Goodbye. If you don't mind, could you teach me how to read sometime? Did you listen to anything I said? I listened, yes. I have no intention of idolizing you. I don't expect you to do anything for me. I don't wish to burden you in any way. I simply wish to be allowed to be at your side. It does not matter to me what kind of person you may be. That is all I want. I apologize for keeping you. Please consider it, if not too much trouble. As the master of the house, Michel, made his way out of the library, he appeared to be slightly rattled. Perhaps the white-haired girl's determination had ignited something in his chained heart. Or perhaps it was something else. She stared toward the darkness into which Michel had disappeared. Then she carefully wrapped her arms around the Drade and Braz tome, a soft smile spreading across her lips. He is a decent man, I'm sure of it. We're alike, he and I. And thus began to blossom within her a faint sense of fellowship, as someone who also knew solitude. Interesting. Alright. Now to check the background once it phases into the next scene. Because I want to read more red text of creepiness. Are we getting another, like... Okay. Yeah, backlog. Nope. I can just do the scroll wheel, I guess. Any red that is new. Doesn't look like it. Hey, wait, interesting. So, we saw the text Giselle, but it's X'd out in the backlog. That's interesting. Fascinating. Wait. What is this? I don't know. I think it's and your... Wait. So I think it's a something name, like something about his name. And then Michel, like the archangel. Why are these words being blocked out? Like names, like his name's being blocked out too, and like it's all the names are being blocked out. Was this the case always? Like if I went back and saw Mel and Nelly, like did it block out those names too? Oh, wait a minute. What if it only blocked out the names of people who are the ones who are stuck in the reincarnation loops? So if I paid attention in the first few books, I'd be able to know who was reincarnations and who weren't. That might be it, because then it makes sense for them to block it out, because in the log of the mansion, they don't have a name anymore. They're just names. They're just like a label for that time period. That would... Oh. Alright, you're free to blank them, to read them, to do with them however you please. If looking at them is enough for you, by all means. They like, why are these being blocked out too? That doesn't make any sense. And like I'm trying to like take out the X's and read the sentences, but that doesn't make any sense. That's really weird. Okay, like it's just blanking out random stuff. Why? I mean to damage such wonderful books. What is happening to this backlog? Like, I don't get it. There's so much... I feel like there's so much, like, Da Vinci Code stuff going on here. And it won't let me go back any farther. So, alright, there's no new red text, but missing X's all over. That's freaking me out. That's really, really weird. It had been about a week since the white-haired girl had taken up residence in the mansion. Staying in that house deprived of light was, I imagine, a very claustrophobic experience. To anyone blessed enough to have sunlight as part of their everyday lives, it would have been unbearable. And yet, for the white-haired girl, it actually might be a blessing. But for her, the mansion, with its prison walls and lack of either illumination or recreation, was the one place she could find respite. She and Michel continued to be distant, however. He spent most of his time in his chambers, which he had explicitly told the white-haired girl to stay out of, leaving her unable to close that gap. Nonetheless, on the occasions they did cross paths in the hallway, their eyes would meet, if but briefly. It was never for more than a few seconds. Whether she saw him, she made a point of giving him a little smile. He never said anything, but still, when she had first arrived, he would not have even met her gaze. He seemed to be taking more and more notice of her. Now, we haven't seen her in this yet. Normally she talks about herself, like, even when she wasn't physically there, like, for the beast, before she appeared, she was, like, in the mansion and of the walls, and she talked about seeing things and thinking things. But so far, she doesn't seem to be doing that. I wonder if this might be the beginning of her story. One day, the white-haired girl stood in the cellar and frowned on her face. Well, this is troubling. I can't get down to the village, but if we don't do something soon... The cellar was where their food was stored, an assortment of non-perishables and dried foods, smoked meats, and cheeses. Her daily meals were taken from the supplies here. However, the stockpile was beginning to grow quite small. Were she not on the run, she could have gone to the village to procure more. Or perhaps, when she were a little tougher, she could have captured a wild animal for its meat. But master, you know a young, delicate thing like her was hardly up to the task of hunting for food. How does he normally get his supplies, I wonder? From there, other questions about Michel started racing in her mind. No matter how lifeless he seemed, surely he had it to eat, right? The white-haired girl nodded, then made her way out of the cellar, intending to head for his bedchamber. Well, I guess it didn't take too long for her to try and break the rule. But on her way there, she spotted him standing by the entrance, staring motionless at the door, lit by a single candle. He appeared to be waiting for something. May I ask you a question? Go on. I was just down in the cellar and I noticed we're running low on food. Do you normally go down to the village to restock? I haven't been outside in 10 years. Then how do you... What if I told you I don't eat? What? That I am not of this world, and as such I have no need of sustenance. What would you think of that? That sounds very, economical. If you can survive without having to eat, that's one less thing to worry about. I wish I didn't have to eat. If it were possible, I'd like to have that ability too. It would seem trying to frighten you is a waste of time. Was I supposed to be afraid? Never mind. It doesn't matter. You asked about the food in the cellar. It's getting to be about that time. Wait, and you'll find out. What do you... It's here. Oh. If you want to know where my supplies come from, open the door. But, I'm in hiding. There's no one at the door anymore. The knock is nothing more than a signal. A signal? The white-haired girl turned towards Michel and pressed him for more information, but he averted his gaze. Find the answer yourself, he seemed to be saying. She took several moments to gather her will, then marched over to the door. So bright. The sunlight, which she had not seen in some time, was so bright it seemed to burn her eyes. Although the sun itself had not gotten any brighter, she had simply spent so much time in the dark her eyes were no longer accustomed to that much light. The color of her eyes made them quite sensitive to light already, so when she stepped outside, her whole world went bone white. The white-haired girl stood motionless for 10, perhaps 15 seconds, and when her eyes had finally adjusted to the light... What's this? She noticed a crate on the ground at her feet. She turned her head back to ask Michel about the box, but the mansion was so dark it appeared to be wholly separate from the outside world. From where she stood, she was unable to distinguish Michel from the shadows. A pang of nervousness struck her. She wanted to return to that darkness as quickly as possible. The white-haired girl had come to yearn for that world without light more than the one with. The crate was fairly hefty. The slightly built girl had considerable difficulty bringing it into the house. But eventually she did manage to drag it through the front door. And then everything went dark once more, except for a faint flicker of candlelight floating in the air. You can leave it there. I'll take care of the rest. What? Without a word, Michel approached her in the box, withdrawing a knife that he had evidently kept hidden somewhere on his person. With it, he cut through the rope that bound the box. Go on, open it up. As his insistence, she placed her hand upon the lid. She had no idea what lay inside this unexpected delivery. Whoever had brought it was already long gone. Staring at the strange box, she was racked with nervousness, however. What she found was she pushed aside the lid was completely ordinary food. Is something amusing? It was just rather anticlimactic. Here I was, worried about what might be inside. We were just talking about the supplies in the cellar. So we were. It's completely slipped my mind. This should last us for some time. It's all preserved, just like what's in the cellar. But I don't understand. Who would deliver all this to you? Should be a book in there as well. What? Oh, there it is. So it's his family. In the library, he said that his family sends him a book once a month. Does that mean this box came from them? If so, then why did the person who delivered this leave without speaking to him? What happened between him and his family? Is he here because they want him here? Or because he chose to be here? Take the book to the library, please. I will bring the rest of the supplies to the cellar. But it's a big box. I'm sure you could use some help to carry it. That won't be necessary. Take the book and go. But... Fine, then stay here. I'll take care of everything. Wait. Hold on, please.
What is it?
You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. And, I'm not trying to pry, but I can't help but be curious.
Say what you have to say, please. I would be like that too. I'd be like, come on, just spit it out.
I was wondering if you could tell me why you live here in this mansion. Why did whoever delivered this box leave before you even opened the door? Could you perhaps be imprisoned here?
I told you this the very first day. I am cursed. It's only natural for a cursed man to live in a cursed house.
Yes, but that's such a vague answer. I don't understand why you're in the situation you are. I don't know how you feel about it. There's so much I don't know. And I'm not even sure if your curse actually exists.
I see. That is a perfectly reasonable doubt from your point of view. Having been branded a witch because of your appearance, it would make sense that you would think my curse might be fabricated or perhaps a metaphor for something else. Alright then. Come with me.
What?
I'll show you my curse.
Ooh. As he turned on his heels, the white-haired girl caught a glimpse of what appeared to be a smirk on his face, like the whole thing was some kind of sick joke. That smile carved into his mask was far colder than any look of arrogance or rejection. Oh. But despite the twinge of nervousness, she still followed after Michel. As much as he might have stood out in a crowd with such height and long hair, his presence was almost entirely eroded away by the darkness. She felt that he could simply fade away into nothingness at any moment.
Oh boy, this sounds like it's gonna get freaky. Anyway, back to the backlog. I'll show you my like. I can't help but also think of really funny words that you could put in there, but I don't know if that's the point too.
But yeah, no more not seeing any red. I can scroll pretty quickly because red will stick out like a sore thumb. Still don't know why the edits that are being edited are editing. But anyway, many things are buried here. Huh? Oh, sorry. Huh? Mice, insects, wild cats, and dogs. Have you ever thought of it's strange how little life there seemed to be around this mansion? You're right. I haven't seen a single creature since I arrived. The only sound you can hear is the wind blowing. It's funny, my house is kind of like that. We tend to be, I don't know, maybe we just keep it clean, but we haven't had any bug issues. But last night, I freaking found a 2-inch cockroach. The first time I've ever seen one that big. It was freaky. No idea where it came from. There's no, I cannot imagine that it grew up that big. Because I haven't seen a single, like, little cockroach ever in this house. I think it just snuck in from outside or something. But it was freaking enormous, and it was freaky. Like, ugh. I'm not a bug person. Luckily, I had a good system and I was able to kill it pretty much like right away and kick it outside. So, yeah. But yeah, otherwise my house is pretty void of life except for me, my family, my cat. Everything else just seems to die or just never even come in the house. So, hey, maybe it's great. No pest control. Alright. The only sound you can hear is the wind blowing. Now that you mention it, it did seem peculiar. They were all killed by me. Or rather, they lost their lives because of me. You have your answer now. A butterfly fluttered its way to the ruined garden, dancing up and down through the air. Michel held out a finger before himself, and the butterfly, mistaking it for a branch, drifted down upon it to rest its wings. Had the scene stopped there, it would have been a picturesque moment. All that comes into contact with me loses its life. My skin, the breath I exhale, my flesh and blood, is poison to all life. But the butterfly's movements began to slow. It spread its wings in one last futile attempt to fight gravity, and then, without warning, it shriveled up into a dry husk. That's horrifying! It's dead, all dried up and lifeless. Like it's been dead for days. Don't touch him. It's like his finger drained all the life out of it. Is this his curse? Is that even possible? But I saw it with my own eyes. If this is his curse, though, it explains much. There are more than just insects and animal corpses buried here, too. People, I'm guessing? Servants who came to visit me long ago. Here, beneath the ground? Under our very feet? So the garden had bodies in it, yay! That is why. That is why the servants leave before I open the door. Should he touch me, should he get near me, his very life is in danger. No one is interested enough in seeing me to take that risk. No one will have anything to do with me. Neither soul even wishes to see my face. Now you understand what I mean when I said I would eventually kill you? So that's why you have never once touched me. When I knocked the books down in the library, you didn't offer your hand to help me up. And only one of us ever made contact with the box at the entrance at a time. When I offered to help you carry it, you refused. Because you didn't want your finger to accidentally brush against mine. My actions were not out of concern for you. You might be a tsundere. I simply dislike people. Other interests mean nothing to me. What an odd face you're making. Do you not believe my curse is real? No, I do. It is certainly irrational, inexplicable, unbelievable, but you've shown me more than enough evidence. And I don't believe you're lying to me right now either. In which case, you now understand how dangerous it is to be near me. You said that if you left, you would be killed. But it's because it's been some time since then. If you carefully took over your tracks, you could make your escape. You do not belong here. He was telling the truth about being cursed.
What a cruel burden to have to bear. I can't imagine just how much he's given up on. How many lives he's inadvertently taken. And how he must have felt every time it happened. How much pain and loneliness must that have given him? How much despair must he carry in his heart? How much sorrow must be weighing down on him? So no, I will not leave. I will stay here with you.
Leave this place.
No, I will not.
Why? Why do you insist on remaining in a house after learning what I can do? You have no reason to stay.
Tell me then, why do you try to drive me out?
If you don't care
For others as you say, if you're not concerned about anyone else, then why does it matter what I do? Why does it matter if I die in your curse? You're a very kind-hearted man. You've been watching out for me ever since the day I arrived, doing whatever you can to not inadvertently kill me, to not afflict me with your curse.
No.
Here's what I think. No one is capable of showing genuine care for others can honestly, truly dislike all people. They can't possibly be indifferent.
No,
That day we met before the stained glass window, you heard me out. You listened to my plight. You didn't try to chase me out. That day, I thought you'd be a good person, and I still believe that.
I simply assumed you would leave on your own when it was safe. I never thought it would be so foolish as to want to stay in a house like this with a man like me.
How does that make me foolish?
Do you not value your own life? Are you not afraid of death? Do you not find me unpleasant?
The thing I fear most is loneliness. You're probably right that, by now, I could safely sneak away and get myself somewhere far from here. But even if I did, I would inevitably find myself in the same situation. The only way I can avoid that fate is to stay away from everyone else. To live in solitude with no one to talk to. I know you understand how that feels. It terrifies me. I'm afraid of having to spend day after day with no one to talk to, no one to share my experiences, my thoughts, my feelings with. If that's what awaits me out there, then I want to live with you. I want to be an essential part of my life.
Impossible.
Please, don't chase me out.
You are a cruel girl. Never again will I allow myself to get close to someone, only to watch them die. Never again. My mother was the first to die. It happened shortly after my birth. Next was my wet nurse. 2 deaths could be considered a coincidence, but as the number rose, it became clear that I was cursed, and I was forbidden from making contact with anyone, even at home. Regardless, being in the same house, accidents will happen. Numerous people lost their lives. Attendants unfamiliar with me, or those who simply brushed up against me by mistake. I couldn't take it any longer.
So you chose to move here, to this remote mansion, to keep yourself away from your family. You weren't imprisoned here. You elected to live alone, so you wouldn't hurt anyone.
Can you imagine? Fetch. Like, that's crazy. Like, there's no real explanation for it, but it's just anything living touches you die. It's like, that's horrid. Of course, I would probably cut my hair if my hair counted. That seems dangerous, flipping that around. Well, my hair, speaking of which, is crazy right now. Sorry, Mr. Microphone. Again, I smacked it right there. For better or for worse, I was born into a noble house. Rather than abandon me, they provided me the means to live out of sight.
I will be very careful. I will do everything I can to ensure no accidents occur to keep you from being alone again. I will not, for any reason, touch you. You have my promise. Your curse takes the lives of anything who touches you. You've been here for a while, and death has not befallen me yet. As long as I do not touch you, there shouldn't be a problem. Also, And I apologize if this is simply reading too much into this, but I feel like we're two of a kind. I fear being utterly alone more than anything. And I think you understand just how scary that is. So...
Why are you so stubbornly insistent on it being me? I'm sure there's someone else out there. Someone you're meant to be with. You may not have found them yet. I believe someone like you eventually will. Because unlike me, you still have the vigor to press forward.
It has to be you. I'm certain of it.
Why?
Because, well,
You can't tell me?
No, I can't. Just, please don't get upset with me.
Mm-hmm.
I think...
Yeah?
I might really, really love you.
Well, fetch. What? Why? She barely talks to the dude, but whatever. I kind of got that impression anyway, but I don't get it, but... he doesn't get it either. He probably stolen away from that conversation and been like, what the fetch? Alright. I think I might really, really love you. Okay, again, no red I'm seeing. Interesting. Okay. Well, that was fascinating. Alright, we'll have to see. Man, there's not a great picture and all of that to make like a thumbnail, so the thumbnail's gonna suck, but that's okay. So, what do we have? What do we know? So, she's staying in the mansion, she really wants to stay there. Because, A, it kind of makes sense with her on the run and like knowing that inevitably she would probably need to be alone for the rest of her life. So why not do it with somebody? And B, she apparently loves him for whatever reason. I have no idea. But I guess we'll have to unravel this a bit more in the next episode. This one, it feels like a very wishy kind of like there's not a lot of progress that was made, but we have a good taste of what's going on. And we have like a name, Giselle, though I don't know if that's her real name. Now here's the thing, I can't quite remember. I might even go back and watch my other episode because there was that foray into that random black mirror that we like went into like between episodes where we saw Michel again, but like a lady in a carriage came up to the door and talked to him. So I'm not sure what that's all about and what her name was. So I think she had a name, but it never described her as the white-haired girl. So I don't know. I'm really curious to see how this all plays out. But anyway, we'll have to save that for next week. So thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, it's a pleasure having you here, unraveling the mysteries, trying to find out more about what the heck's going on. I'm really curious to see how this is all going to play out. I wonder if she really is going to be the witch. If this is where it all started, then I think what's going to happen is somehow, like, he might die, and she will, like, somehow evoke his curse in a weird way. Like, somehow she'll be able to actually, like, use it somehow. I don't get that, but we'll find out. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me, and until the next video you're watching me, hope to see me in next. I'll see you there.